What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. Speaking of which, on this special collaboration, we have the Cyber Coffee Hour. So, I want a big round of applause for Dr. Joseph Burt-Miller Jr., as well as Alfredo Nash joining the show today. How you gentlemen doing?
Hello, coffee makers. We're doing great.
I'm doing well.
So
Glad to
definitely,
be back with y'all.
yeah, definitely. So definitely check out their podcast, the Cyber Coffee Hour, which you can tune in pretty much everywhere, right? Just go ahead and Google it. Description will be in the link below. But yeah, it's great collaboration. I'm glad to have you guys back on the show. So definitely continue to tune in to us. We are on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard in the Atlanta metro area on WDJY 99.1 FM, as well as weekly on Channel 10 in the DC Fairfax area, public access. But without further ado, I give you to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from darkreading.com by Stephen Lawton. And the title of this one is Despite More CVEs, Cyber Insurers Aren't Altering Policies, right? So we talk about it all the time about CVEs on this show, right? And us coming from DOD, Ryan, like we saw them all the time, right? That's kind of how we did our work, right? We look at the CVEs, we attack accordingly, or we protect accordingly. I shouldn't say attack, right? I'm not going to make it out like we're a red team or anything like that. We protect accordingly to what was coming out there. But what they're saying in this article is that there's nearly 47,000, that's the anticipation, 47,000 CVEs are expected by the end of the year, right? So that's a crazy high number, right? Because what they talk about in the article, so this is MITRE that runs the CVE list, right? And what they say is that this is nearly double the 18,400 published in all of 2020, right? So in a matter of 5 years, going from 18,400 to 47,000 being the anticipation by the end of the year, right? So this is crazy, folks. Like the fact that cyber insurers are not altering their policies based off this is it's a little wild, right? Because you have so much that's going on when it comes to cyber insurance and so much that should be done. And we've talked about it on the show before. I know we come across some of these articles where I'm like, people weren't doing this already. And I think it's from the DoD background, right? I'm like, yeah, we've always been doing this, right? Like people have not been doing this in the civilian sector. And I have to rely on Ryan and Chris to tell me, nah, man, that's not how it's done everywhere, right? Because I still work in DoD. So I'm like, no. We're always doing backup. We're always doing disaster recovery. We're doing all of these things, right? That I'm like, should have been done anyway. But the fact that these insurance companies are out there and what they're seeing is that people they're not even keeping up to the own policies that they signed up for, right? Like it's a contract between the insurer and the company to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do as long as you provide these services, or you're to provide these services, right? That's what's supposed to be done. And it's just not happening out there, man. But this is crazy, the amount of CVEs that are anticipated by the end of the year, and how these cyber insurers, like this is gonna be a problem going forward, because I think because so much is going on when all the attacks that are going out there, that cybersecurity is going to become more relevant and more people are going to want to use it, but they're not going to want to do their part, right? They're not going to want to do their multi-factor authentication they're supposed to be doing, right? Like their disaster recovery, their things of that nature. But this is what the world is coming to, folks. Like 47,000 CVEs anticipated by the end of the year. That's a crazy high number. But Alfredo, man, what's your thoughts on this?
Let's go. So I'm always a proponent of, yes, we tried to do it in the private sector, but there was no chargeback, the right contacts and contracts as well. So when you said do your part, I thought of Starship Troopers meme. There is a means to say with 47,000 vulnerabilities, charge me $1 per vulnerability. And I don't want people throwing rocks at me, but the private sector never really had that. I don't want to say punitive, but like that policy enforcement. Much to your mention too, Shannon. The red team wants this kind of environment. So they want to bill you. They want to come up with an invoice. Auditors too. They don't get away from it either. They want to see.
They want that work, right?
They want that work. Yeah. They want the smoke. They want the work, because if you charge me $1 per vulnerability and I don't give you a remediation timeline, right? Being that I'm an auditor, then why doesn't the insurance holder say, hey, here's another fee, right? Here's another, or lacks the policy in the sense that we can't cover you on certain recovery or remediation exercises. I'm all for defending the defenders, to your point, Shannon, but at the same time, you got to get some kind of accountability for that many vulnerabilities. And how many of them are criticals for how many orgs? There's a whole ontology that I'm hearing here. I think Chubb was the insurer. they're not sending us any checks, but relax the policy. Say, hey, you know what? Next month, you get an accrued cost, a chargeback if there's 20,000 criticals still there. Hit us up on the podcast too if that's a good idea. The last part that's very shocking to your point is why isn't there a cadence from me to like somebody like Shannon and DOD, like, hey, what should I look out for in this ontology of criticals, and should I be worried next year in my policy? Because the honest truth is we're all bug hunters at the end of the day. Somebody's going to find it. Somebody's going to do an assessment. And I said this on the podcast before too. 10 years ago, that was like something that get a QA guy axed, right? If you didn't know how to patch up and patch forward in production and you let it slip out there, well, you were in your next performance review. So I don't know, much to your point, Shannon, is like, I don't know how the private side got so relaxed. It wasn't this relaxed years ago. And I don't know which orgs were named in the article, but 47,000 is high when you break open that, crosswalk and say, how many organizations have that's covered by Chubb? And that's only one that we know of. What do you think?
And that's my thing, is that because I've been in DoD for over 25 years now, like being active military and like with what I'm doing now, I don't know any different, right? So my assumption is that this is already getting done. And like I said, Ryan and Chris, they'd be like, nah, man, like that is not the business. You know what I mean? That's not what people are doing out there. It's crazy.
My favorite saying is not business as usual. They come to their own conclusion like, hey, you know what, we'll deal with this by the next audit. And it's not to throw anybody in the bus, but this is one insurer. We have to look at all the other ecosystems of insurers that are coming online. Because 10 years ago, it wasn't this many people offering cyber insurance. What do you think?
So, yeah,
Sit back.
So one of the things that stood out to me was that some organizations are willing to be more proactive, or I'll say be collaborative in helping some of these organizations. Others, as you mentioned, like Chubb, Fred, so they're like, nah, we're gonna hold you to the fire. We're gonna double down and penalize you if you don't keep up. So I just think it's really, I don't know. It just seems like what I want to say they're not having a heart, or they're not maybe realizing the full scope of like what exactly is going on, or they do know and they just don't care. It is something to watch for, but like, yeah, some of these numbers, as you mentioned, Shannon, so 33,000 CVEs last year, and then that was double up from the 18,400 in all of 2020. I thought that was some real staggering numbers, and then you're gonna see a upward trend especially as we go on, and everything that's going on right now with the current government climate, and it seems to be taking more I guess cyber protections or things that we've had that to help protect organizations or to help bolster them. Some of these services are being taken away or being weakened. I just see things like this is going to continue to get worse. I'm just really concerned as how an organization is going to keep up. Like what is their, is this going to affect, maybe we talk about like even like startups or different organizations that are trying to get into this space. When they see things like this, like, are they going to feel supported, or will they have to pivot, or some organization will have to kind of, some of these companies may have to like take a step back, but like, man, I can't do this. I can't afford this, and there's no sort of recourse and no sort of assistance or how to get through that. It's very interesting. I'm just wondering how this is all going to shake out.
So Dr. Joseph, real quick, like you said something that kind of struck me. Like you said, you don't you don't think they're trying to be punitive. Like I don't think they're trying to be punitive either, but it's written in the contract, right? Like it is stated, like both of them signed, say, hey, these are your duties, these are your duties, right? I don't think they're necessarily being punitive. Like if you don't do your part, like this is the penalty for it, right? That's what contracts are. This is a business. None of these companies are doing this out of the kindness of their heart. They're not doing it for free, right? Let's be honest here, right? Like they're doing it for the money that's coming to them, and because they have experience, they have people they have to pay to offer these services. So I don't think they're being punitive. It's just a matter of, hey, you got to do your part for the contract. And we've done a story on this. It was a few weeks back. Was that the one in Canada where they weren't doing the MFA? I can't remember,
Yes.
Ryan.
Yeah, it was a Toronto, or I can't remember if it was Toronto or
Yeah.
Ontario, but they're really, really polite in their apology. Like, yeah, we didn't do it.
Yeah.
We're sorry. We're sorry, A.
So I hear paid in full, but I think you're right, Shannon. Sorry, but I also think there should be more. I mean, there's a gray area because I'm coming from the private side, right? So I'm thinking like a private person. I'm like, yeah, so what? We'll afford it next quarter. So there should from the other opposite, when I literally say it's not business as usual, somebody in the cyber team read this and was like, all right, so what? What next? This is how we're going to run our business anyway. And that's the problem in industry. I know you guys are mostly like have DOD background, but I'm telling you, as a private sector guy, somebody read this and said, all right, somebody's not getting a raise next month. That's it. Right. And that's the toxic side. I'm being very toxic and very transparent to some people. Like, so what? We'll afford it. We'll afford the policy and keep the bar low. Because unfortunately, there's no bar being raised when I give it to an order team until there's an action. Right. Until I say, hey, you need to bring this down to 27,000 per this contract. To your point, Shannon, like it has to be explicit in the contract. We expect this number to be down by the end of the quarter, if I'm being aggressive, or your next audit, whenever that is, a year, 3 years, or so this cadence has to change because most of the companies are like, so what? I afford you, Chubb, and I afford the vulnerabilities that come with it. It's unfortunate out here.
Yeah, to Dr. Joe's point, it seems as though it's an unattainable goal. And to that, I would say it's going to have to come down to automation. Like what Shannon was saying with the DoD background, like I'm used to us trying to keep pace, and we're always targeted, right? But also, we don't have a bottom line per se. We're not in the business of making money, so we can force our troops to a certain extent to stay on pace, to continue to target, to work longer hours. Whereas a private sector company is like, we do the best we can, what we got. And at the end of the day, we can't afford, or we do not want to afford to pay people more money to keep up. So it's going to have to come down to paying some MSP, MSSP, someone to try to keep pace, or to Alfredo's point, pay the punitive damages, right?
Right.
In order, like we don't keep pace, but then we in our budget, we're targeting a certain amount of money to cover it. I would say also the bigger companies who have CISOs, have CTOs, they're actually reading the policy. They're actually hopefully being proactive and passing it down to someone to take action. But if you're a mom and pop, I've seen it to where you don't exactly know what you're signing. You're just signing because you know you have to have it in order to cover whatever regulation is governing you. To which I would say, have someone look over your policy that does know what they're doing, who does know cyber. So the plug, right? Go to rampcyber.io to have your cyber insurance assessment done. Because at the end of the day, like if you signed up for these things, you did not take care of them, you're throwing your money into a pit, right? If you say you have MFA, if you say that you have a data at rest, data and protection in transit, and you do not have it, they're not going to pay out. And you've just been putting hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars into a black hole for no apparent reason. Right? You were compliant, but you were not secure. Is the problem. So, but I digress.
Or it could be, we've seen this before, right? They just disregard whoever it is that's over there on that team and just says, we'll deal with it, right? Because it could be the CISO or CTO or whatever the C structure is there, right? They could be saying, hey, we need to take care of this. I guess in the contract, and the CEO, right, or the CFO said, nah, we ain't gonna worry about it, right? We need that money in sales, or we need that money elsewhere,
Right.
Well, that's a problem.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I'm trying to say. And they won't hire, to your point, this internal and external hiring initiative. The people internal that are like it's not like with the troops, right? To the brunt of the person in the role right now, they're already overstaffed and over capacity. So then they'll make an excuse not to hire a cybersecurity architect, right, or not to hire a SOC analyst, right? And I'm on the violin a little bit, but it's from my own experiences. It's like, hey, you know what? Why did I get this coaching plan? Well, you brought up the vulnerabilities thing, and the other shortfall is that from the rumor mills, given the climate, they don't hire the person that can rapidly automate, right? Just the automation thing is not easy. It's something that has to take kind of like a dual hat. Like you have to be a developer, a DevOps engineer, and a security engineer. So that's 3 people in one head count, right? And sometimes when it does make it to that C-suite, they're like, you know what? There's a lot of noise. Maybe that person can be, reorged or separated from the group. Or to Ryan's point, they hire an MSSP with 5 people, and then your role is eliminated. Unfortunately, but that's the writing on the wall that we're seeing because we are still short-staffed in cybersecurity. We still have openings that people that are expected to do both, but there's a shortfall in not just people in process, but actual technical skills, right? So the technical skills to do both in any kind of vulnerability management solution is very high bar right now. And so do I afford the staff and the solution to automate, or do I just find a contractor that could do it for inside that CEO's, approved budget. And then to Dr. Joseph's point, horrific. It hasn't been going on for the full decade, but I noticed when the pressure to protect is on, like I said, the defenders, people are cutting short on their certain budgets, right? And that's on the private side. I don't know too much about the other side of the fence, but on the private side, people fall short of the expectation because they have to go through different headcounts, different approvals, different towers of leadership, right? When opposed to you guys have an org chart. Boom, the guy said get it done. We're gonna get it done next month. In the private side, it might be next quarter, depending on who we hire, how many solutions we have to unseat, how many contractors are already talking to you, and then we need 4 architects to get it done. Compounds because it is a technical debt. They're paying down a technical debt, which I hear here, and I said it at every employer, so I'm gonna call for that. That debt has to be paid down against the interest rate. The interest rate is there's a shortage of talent out here, and it's that rate keeps going up. The more of us that lose our job.
No, absolutely. But yeah, so this could have been a discussion. Like this is a really good one. So what I'll do, because this is a collaboration and we are doing something a little bit different, I'm gonna skip topic 2 and go straight to topic 3. So that way we have enough time at the end. So hopefully that's not too jarring for everybody. But in this interim break, because this would be the midpoint at that point, I'd like to also plug that 2 of these gentlemen right here, like Dr. Joseph as well as Alfredo Nash, are in the guide, people. So if you have not picked up your copy of
yes.
The Other Side of the Firewall, go to www.theothersideofthefirewall.com. It is on sale, 40% off this month for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So all month long, so it only costs you $15 if you buy it from me, as opposed to some other retailers, right? I don't want to bash them because you can buy it from them as well. But I would appreciate if you bought it from the website again, www.theothersideofthefirewall.com. We can hear these gentlemen's cyber origin stories and how they have broken through to the other side of the firewall. But without further ado, I'll give it back to you, Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from darkreading.com, and it's Trifecta of Google Gemini flaws turn AI into attack vehicle, right? So we've talked about this on the show before, right? Like AI and all its goodness and all the services it can provide to make things easier, right? This is the other side of the coin, right? So, and what's weird about this, so like I'll put it out there up front, like this is for individual models of Google's AI suite, right? I'm seeing commercials on this all over the place, right? Like I don't have cable, like I get ads through all my streaming services, but I'm seeing this everywhere with the Google AI, right? They even have a commercial where they're kind of going at Apple a little bit, like they got the ice cream cones or whatever
Yeah.
it is, right?
Yeah.
Like that's Apple, right? But they talk about the Google AI in these commercials and how great it is. But Google Gemini, right? Like the AI assistant, they got some issues with it, right? So what they're talking about is three different types of like the vulnerabilities is what I'm trying to think of. I don't know why that escapes me, but in the Gemini Google AI assistant, right? So the trifecta here, they're talking about the different things that are being affected, right? So the three distinct components of the Gemini suite they're talking about are the Gemini Cloud Assist, right? The Gemini search personalization model and the Gemini browsing tool, right? So Google jumped on this real quick, right? Because like I said, they've invested a bunch of money in these commercials telling you how great Gemini is, right? But what's going on with this? Again, folks, you have to realize when it comes to AI, a lot of this is what you put into it is what you get out of it, right? So that's what's happening here is that if you put some type of inject in there, it's a garbage in, garbage out type thing. You put something in there that kind of poisons the well, like that's what you're getting out there. And this is where it comes to like I'm seeing this a lot now where a lot of people will just believe what the AI spits out for them. And I'm like, wait a minute, that don't sound right. You know what I mean? Like just think about what you just said. Like, does that sound right to you? Like do a little bit more research on it and not take it for what it's worth. But Google Gemini, they fixed it, right? They got out there real quick and fixed it. Because like I said, they've been putting a lot of money into the advertisement for this. But those three different components were under attack there, right? So, but we're gonna switch it up a little bit. Dr. Joseph, what's your thoughts on this? We're gonna switch the order here.
Well, I think that's the danger with any technology, honestly, not just AI. Like anything that you're assigning an IP address to, you're widening that attack surface. So I don't think it's necessarily specific to AI. But I mean, of course, this topic right now, as we're talking about, yeah, that's what's the current buzz right now. A lot of people are looking for different solutions. They're doing all these different apps, everything like that, and turning their face into cartoons and all this stuff. One of the things is that, so when we're talking about, widening that attack surface, connecting. I think one of the biggest dangers, yes, as you mentioned, Shannon, you're using these different AI tools and you get the output, and you're not really doing that due diligence to really check and really double check and to ensure that these things are correct or what it's telling you is correct. For one, some folks are getting themselves in trouble because, so it's one thing if you're just using it for your personal use, but there's another thing if you're trying to use it to support like your professional use. So what I mean by that is some folks, maybe they're working on a report or something for work and they use an AI to help craft it or try to get some more information from it. Now with doing so, they may be feeding that tool, proprietary information or secrets, company secrets, so that way they can get specific information back. That is going to be that's a big problem, because especially from the intelligence community perspective, if you're sharing like classified information and you're feeding that tool because you're trying to, like I say, you may be working on some report or whatever the case is. Yes, you may have something that looks really great and you're able to send it to your supervisor and you look good, but now you just shared some very pertinent information that should not be shared outside of those skiff walls, and now you just put your whole organization at risk. So it's something that I think there's an education component or education piece that comes with this. Like, people need to know exactly, like, when you're sharing your information to these tools, they're not private. So there's someone else on the other end. There's some other organization on the other end of this receiving it, and they're using it for their advantage. And they're not going to ask you how to use it either. They're just going to, they're going to do with it what they will, especially if you're giving them some very juicy information too. That's what I mentioned about, classified information, things like that. You have to be very careful. I think there needs to be especially now, October, Cyber Awareness Month, there has to be an awareness component to this to let people know or really enforce the fact that when you're using these tools, no matter what it is, whether Perplexity, Gemini, what's the Microsoft one, Copilot, whatever, it doesn't matter. You have to be careful what you're sharing, even substitute information, so that way, and then you transcribe it to whatever you're using it for, but you have to be careful to not put your own respective organization at risk, and by doing so, you may put your own job at risk because you're sharing information that you shouldn't be sharing. Like I said, to me, I think it's just an education component that more people need to understand and realize that, doing this for one is not private, and you're putting yourself and your respective organization at risk.
What's your thoughts, Alfredo?
100%. So I like to echo what Dr. Joseph said, but first I want to highlight, Tenable was on the ball. They, I used to have a beef with Tenable legitimately back in the day because they didn't hire me. Now I'm kind of saying kudos to Tenable, because if you look at the writing on the wall, they say Google Trifecta, like 3-in-1 oil, right? They put the oil on the squeaky wheel and it kind of exposed what Dr. Joseph is saying, the insider risk to insider threat that AI provides. And I know you guys said that on your show a couple times as well, because when you look at the urgency that Google had for this one opposed to other AI compromises in the industry, right? It's because Tenable found it, right? Tenable researchers are on the ball and they say, look, we do this for a living. These are vulnerabilities you should pay attention to, right? So shout out to them, because I'm wearing their hat from Reinforce. The second side of the fence is when you look at the scale, like Dr. Joseph saying, how many folks were already exposed to this Gemini risk in production? How many folks are already using Gemini and saying, oh man, I didn't know that, but now I got to refactor my models. Now I got to refactor what prompts I send to it. Now I got to refactor like the information it's learning from. And I haven't seen an easy way in the search prioritization to do that. I'm not the Google developer, by the way, but I know that's got to be a little bit of a like sanitization effort. So there's got to be something to say to kudos again to Tenable, because their researchers kind of had to go through each specific vulnerability and see the risk exposure. And I know they're in the business for it, but then the average person who is using Tenable could say, oh, thanks, they had my back. They had my back and they exposed this particular vulnerability, and I'll be on the lookout for it in my CVE report. So I just think that we're seeing, like Dr. Joseph said, we're seeing a bit of an education factor through the solutions, the last gen solutions, the cloud solutions before AI. And then some reason too, a rant wants to start where we're saying we're closing all the gaps in cyber operations using AI. right? So there is a third person in the room, and that person is officially Gemini, right? That you got to treat it like the artificial intelligence it is, and also start gating your information privately in enclaves, right? Because when you look at that particular AI becoming an insider risk, it's also a threat. It's just as good as the red team, in my professional opinion. It knows all of your secrets. It knows what you gave it. And to your point, Shannon, I like what you said. Garbage in is garbage out. It's just like the backup days, right? If I put prompts and unsanitized information in there or low quality data, well, this thing's going to learn it. And it's going to search that prioritization, and it's going to give it to my entire org, not just the business units. So that's what I think right now.
And the public, it's not even necessarily inside the org, right? Like it's one of those things where it'll be made public, you know what I mean?
Right,
And that's
right.
what you don't want. I was gonna circle around to the Tenable thing too, but you beat me to it. It was like, and I say that because I've been using Tenable for years, right? Like the
Right.
DoD is all over Tenable, and it's a very, very, very good tool when you use Nessus, the scanner that they use. Like you do active scanning, passive scanning. Every once in a while, you get false positives. I'd rather have false positives than false negatives, right? Like that just makes it where, okay, well now I have to look at it. Why is it showing this? I've done this, and then you can mark it accordingly. But yeah, Tenable on the ball for this one, man. Like they were the ones that discovered it. Like they have so many plugins you got to do. Like when you run their scans and whatnot, a lot of
Right.
plugins they have in there, right? And you can do custom plugins, right? Like if there's something you found on your own with something you're doing, because the DoD has done this, right? Where they'll do custom plugins that they use to put in there, and they just make it what do they call it? It's in the best practices, is what they call it for DoD. I think DISA is the ones that actually put it in there. But yeah, no, Tenable on the ball, good on them, right?
Yeah.
So when we look at it from a regular user, a consumer perspective, what are some things that we can let's say, I know this article covers more of the wider organization, but let's think of it for the regular person at home that may have these different tools or these AI applications. What are some things that we could recommend or some solutions that we could propose so that way they can harden their own household cybersecurity?
I would say stop sharing. It's the same thing. Like laying it sounds so low tech, right? But I would say these tools it's they're for extraction, right? We're sharing too much with it. And the problem that I have with that is that there's nothing new under the sun. Like the vulnerabilities that exist with these super intelligent, so to speak, sources of information and applications is the same thing that's been plaguing the internet since Web 1.0. It's prompt injection and exfiltration, and it has not changed. And the reason it has not changed, in my very humble opinion, is because the bar is set so low for security being built in or baked in at the beginning, right? It's still bolt on, and we haven't changed that. So for people who are now using these applications to, like you said, to your point, Dr. Joseph, to perform work, like to better craft their reports and things of that nature, you're oversharing. Stop sharing. It's to exfiltrate information. It's to be a library in your own home. It's not for you to make it, and as built right now, it's not for you to make it an assistant, because it is either going to steal your information or it's going to blab to someone else, being either its creator or someone who has the ability to exfiltrate the data. Like it's like sharing with that messy friend who shares all your business. It really is, because they're childlike. They like
Albert threw me off for a second.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're very childlike. They believe that everyone they talk to is also going to be secretive or also their friend, right? So if you share the information, it's playing a telephone game and sharing it with somebody else. And down the line somewhere, there's someone smart enough to exfiltrate that data. And it's not to the point, again, to use the bolt-on security analogy. It's not to the point where it's being baked in yet, and it's unfortunate, but it's not self-healing. It's not proactive. Again, it's someone having to circle back and say, okay, we found these vulnerabilities, which again are not anything that's been done before. Like we've been doing prompt injections, fuzzing, as well as data exfiltration since the beginning of the internet times, and it has not changed. And it's a very unfortunate. But I think what has changed is people have become more trusting in these applications because they're so human-like. And I think that's a shame. So I would say don't share as much as possible, as well as to Alfredo's point, it needs to be gated. So if you're an organization who has brought it into the fold, you need to be very careful. I've seen a lot of companies that are being proactive, and they're what's the word I'm looking for when you tag your data to make sure it's not shared to the wrong level.
Classification.
Yes, they're man, simple words today. But so they're classifying their data before they allow Copilot or Gemini or anyone else into the building, which is smart. But I've seen other organizations that are not as knowledgeable about AI before they bring it in. They're not doing that. They're doing it after the fact, and it's too late. Whatever that messy email that was shared in accounting is now part of a PowerPoint that is being used in asset management or somewhere else. Or you did not classify the data before you brought it in, and now all hell has broken loose versus the opposite where you take care to tag your data before bringing in your AI assistant.
Yeah,
Back to you.
100% agree to Dr. Joseph and your point. First of all, you guys threw me off because I went on Cyber Coffee Hour mode when Dr. Joseph asked the question. But on the other side of the fence, right, like you have to look at researching on my research. Don't trust that the AI knows how to secure that information and not share it publicly. Because to your point, it's by design shared with Google Gemini. It doesn't know how to share with Copilot and the other one I forgot right now until you tell it to, right? So when you tell it, hey, search ChatGPT, search Amazon Bedrock, search Copilot for a SOC alert, well, guess what? It winds up on Cybersecurity. To your point, the messy friend knows how to look at those ungated queries, those prompts, and fuzz it. Good point, Ryan, because my brain says, all right, well, where did it leak? And a lot of times in the private companies, they don't have the ontology to say this is a new technology that we have to secure, unlike the previous generation of cybersecurity, leading to the frameworks that are being adapted today. So shout out to OWASP, right? OWASP has a framework that says, look, lock it down this way, go through the top 10, just like we did for the last 20 years. But here's what you got to look at for in LLMs. Here's what you got to look at for gating those LLMs because they're learning like we do. They're learning like a SOC analyst, let's be honest. Then let's go back. Defend the defender. So some people that don't know how to classify the information, because again, private guys only know how to do that up to confidential or proprietary. They are built to share with the internet. So the reverse mindset is I have to classify it thoroughly, like to your point, Ryan, and also keep in the mindset I share it business to business or institution to institution. So that's MITRE Atlas. They're saying, look, when you share it, don't share it with Copilot and everybody else outside the SOC. When you bring it back, bring it to this threat exchange, right? Because people like me, I'll be honest with you, the red teamers have it easy now. They have it a little easier than the last 20 years because you gave me all of the defensive information through your Copilot and Gemini. So now all I have to do is sit back and write another AI to do the gap analysis. Right, so all those gaps in the framework today that you shared have to be tightened up. Not like the cloud and cyber before it. Now we are sharing it automatically in the private cloud, right, to the public cloud providers. And that's something that has been a challenge because all I have to do is look at where your DISA framework failed, or look at where CSF failed, or look at where NIST failed, and do the gap analysis and find the leaks. There are prompt poisonings, right? So we know to the fuzzing point, before I get to that point, I can poison your prompt and get what your SOC analyst did in the incident response report. That's never been like that in the last 10 to 15 years. So I think we have to combine what we just said with not oversharing, but also the gates and proper implementation of AI frameworks while they're in beta. Because right now the technology doesn't exist where I can send another AI to defend me. Not yet.
I'll say to your point, like poisoning the well is a real thing. So you just have to be careful what you are reading and interpreting from it. And we were going to go into that as well this week, because there's a awesome peer-reviewed paper by Cornell University called Data Poisoning for In-Context Learning. So if you have not checked it out, you should definitely check it out. It could take as little as 250 documents to poison a $13 billion LLM, right? So it's ridiculous. But go ahead, Shannon.
So I think because of the rush to incorporate AI as well, this is why some of this stuff is being overlooked, right? Like nobody wants to be late to the game and be like, okay, we jumped on this too late and now the competition has gotten a leg up on us, right? So in doing that, they're like, okay, let's get it out. We know it's out there. There's several ways to implement it. Let's make that happen. And they're not taking the steps they need to in the beginning, right? Whether it be better source verification even, right? For some of the stuff that's going in there, that's something that needs to be done as well, right? Because that is the whole garbage in, garbage out thing. Your sources shouldn't be like Reddit or Wikipedia, right? Like I could go in there and make changes there to make it whatever it is, right? Like
Bellingcat and Cyberscoop,
yeah, So, but yeah, no, it's This is real out there, folks. Like AI is here. It is not going anywhere. That genie is not going back in that bottle. It's just it's what it is. We have to make do and try to make it as responsible, I should say, as responsible for us as it should be, right? Because it's eventually gonna have a mind of its own, right? There will come a point where it will make up lies about you, right? That's another one we've done.
And then
Hallucinations.
Yeah, they tell Wired magazine those lies. You don't want. I'm a huge fan, but I don't want to be in the looking at an AI that read my playbook, right? And then decide to tell another editor like, this is what Alfredo does on the dark web. What? Never have I imagined the day where I have to fight something artificial, fight the reputation hit and the hallucination. Like, how late do you have to stay up night to miscite and fight someone's research, right? That we all know academically that's 24/7, right? But here today we have somebody that's doing that around the clock, doesn't sleep, and knows our defensive playbook. It's a very, very interesting time to say, well, now I have to go back and remove all those miscitations, all that misinformation, all those misclassifications. And then this thing hallucinates. It's like, yeah, I said it was true 1,000 times. So don't fight me, cite me. How do you take on something like that?
Or it will maliciously go after you if you try to shut it down. What was the one we had a few months ago? It tried to say the
Right.
guy was having an affair. Was that what it was,
Yeah,
Ryan?
in a closed environment, they
Yeah.
found that more often than not, it will defend itself by fabricating lies, right?
I don't need that getting out and me losing 50% of my stuff. That's what I need. I don't need to lose
Right.
half my stuff, right? It took me this long to get what I got. I'm comfortable where I'm at, right? Like leave it
Exactly.
be.
That's where you hit the nuke from orbit button.
So, one thing I kind of want to piggyback on what Shannon said when we talk about, a lot of these organizations, they're rushing to be first with their AI solution or implementation. I think one of the key word with doing all this is having responsible AI. So with that said, that doesn't necessarily equate to being first. I think you do have to take that time to ensure that the respective implementations are thorough. You're double checking the information that's being put, the data that's being used. You're ensuring you're getting the right people. Whether you have respective teams that are working on this for your organization or your company, you want to make sure you're taking the appropriate steps because it can't backfire, come back to bite you and come back in a very negative way. Yes, you have, some organizations say, yes, we're first, but it's like full of crap because you didn't take that time to really, like I said, really be thorough and double check everything. I had spoken about this on another podcast earlier, and we're talking about responsible AI. The mindset shouldn't be to try to be first. That the mindset should be make sure it's correct. So with that said, it may take time, and that should be okay because now you're gaining that trust from the public. They could trust your product, what you put out there, or even within your own organization, that knowing that. Okay, what they're doing right now, because like I said, everyone is using AI. No matter what you do, like you turn the TV, everyone have their different version of AI. You can't get away from it. So the main thing now is that is this AI implementation trustworthy? Can I use this? Am I okay going with this organization? Or even if you work in an organization where you're at, where the government and whatnot, do I feel comfortable enough to use this because I know they took the appropriate step to make sure that it was correct and it's preventing or being proactive to get in front of those things. We're talking about AI hallucinations and making sure that the data is that we're not using classified information or information that should not be released out to the public or anything like that. Yeah. So to me, I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to this, that we're being responsible. We're taking our time. Honestly, if you see an organization that said we're first, I'll kind of steer away. I probably the other way because I don't think they made all the appropriate. They took the appropriate safeguards before releasing.
You treat it like a new vehicle, like when they change up, they do like a remodel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that first iteration, I'm gonna pass on that.
You don't want that
same
one.
with
You
the
want to wait.
phones.
You want to wait.
I'm gonna watch Marcus Lee's review or Jerry Riggs everything first before I jump in a new Chevy. So why would I not do that with AI? Also, I gotta be in the gray a little bit because I challenge the private side to also do continuous integration and delivery. Right? That should sound familiar. Like continuously red team the model. Shout out to Dreadnought.io. They don't owe me any coffee. The next thing is the first one that I've seen is a team that says, "Hey, we'll do the continuous red teaming for you." Horizon AI. Right? Hey, shout out to them. More coffee to come. The second and last defense, when I have two red teamers on the same team as my company and I'm responsibly assessing my AI models and my platforms, now I can inform the SOC with drop zone AI. Right. So that those three solutions are pivotal. Yes, they said they were first, but they took their time responsibly to say, hey, this is a gap. This is the analysis we did. So research on our research and attack those models. Then hand it off to a platform that continues to integrate and assess them, and then inform your SOC to defend against all three of the other two options. If you don't, then you're going to get an alert that Gemini's in your organization syncing data from a backup solution, right? And unfortunately, nobody wants to wake up to that call. We still have on-call rotations. We still have various incident responders out there. Nobody wants to wake up to that call because we can't detect that particular compromise today. Amazon's coughed it up. Anthropic, I like the research. I saw it, Ryan. They're all talking side of desk, if you realize, right? They're all making agreements. I don't want to say irresponsibly to Dr. Joseph's point, for the monetary gain of closing the gaps. So that not to read too much of the coffee recipe here, but that it should be something that gets banned eventually. And we don't have that cadence here in the country yet. There's a new vision to say, why are these models coordinating and having you to cohesion better than my red team internally? Because the day is going to come where somebody's going to say that model is leaky, pull it from production. That model tripped 5,000 alerts per second and burnt through our SOC team. Well, time to pull that model because we live in it every day, but the average, salesperson or marketing person that turns on a note taker doesn't know that. Right, doesn't know that model that backs the note taker is by Anthropic or by, not to pick on them too much, but by Gemini, by, that power company behind it is actually reading your notes, reading your class notes. It's like the kid, like you said, the messy friend. It's like the kid that you sell your test notes to, to pass the exam. Hey, man, $100 and give me those A's and B's. I can't keep doing C's and degrees. I want the A. That's irresponsible. That's unethical. So start hiring the ethical hackers that say continuously attack these models in production. I hate to say it. Shout out to Horizon. Shout out to Dreadnought. They're doing it now, and they're first or two in the industry. But now it's time for the defenders to get a shout out to with Drop Zone. I don't know them. They don't owe me any checks, and they could probably see this episode and reach us through Ram Cyber, but they need the alerting. There's 5,000 attacks per second in the average model for one sector, and it's been already researched. There's another thing that comes to mind if we're all listening. We can go to Canlis 2025 this year. They're doing a red team workshop to prove me wrong. They don't fight me, cite me. Prove me wrong, and then cite the research. They're proving it now that these models can be bypassed and hallucinate intentionally, right? And they could do it at scale today. Unlike the last 10 years of cloud, I'm sorry, I'm going off a little bit, but unlike the last 10 and 20 years of cyber operations, where we handle it responsibly as defenders, people are trying to bypass our skill set and our knowledge set irresponsibly. So we have to put the defense up. And you're right. I agree with you, Dr. Joseph. Responsible AI needs to come, not just in what we're saying as cyber professionals, but as legislation now. Now we're seeing that where these companies need to get a little constraint and a little restriction to say, we will ban this in prod. We will ban this in your cloud environment that leaks out to a competitive cloud. Why? Is that intentional or was it accidental, right? These, and I'm not a lawyer, so consult your lawyer. You go to CyberLawCon, ask somebody, is this a real thing? Because the last thing I want is my vulnerability disclosure out there in one of these models before my new product comes out, ahead of the market trends, right? That should be considered, espionage, corporate espionage.
Right.
How did you get that information through my model? I closed all the doors. How did it get out, right? Some people need to look into that because I guarantee you in the next 10 to 20 years, that's going to be a cyber role for that or a new AI security role, right?
No, absolutely. And for everybody who's listening, like you hear all this excellence in this conversation, like definitely check out Cyber Coffee Hour. And always keep it locked to the other side of Firewall. But before we move on, I definitely have to plug. This is Cyber Awareness Month, and friend of the podcast, Isha Hollins, who's also in the guide. She runs Forensic. She's running for the entire Cyber Awareness Month. She's doing the Cyber Resilience series in honor of the National Security Awareness Month. At the end of the month, I've been honored to join her panel on the state of cybersecurity plus AI. So check that out. It will be Tuesday, October 28th at 11 a.m. CST. Check her out at all times. Always keep it locked to Forensic Technology. She's doing amazing things, but October is her month, and she definitely comes with the heat. Every week she's discussing a new topic, as well as it's going to culminate with the State of Cybersecurity Plus AI panel. Again, that's Tuesday, October 28th at 11 a.m. CST. And yours truly is honored to join a amazing panel of excellent cyber and IT professionals. But to pivot back to the Cyber Coffee Hour, right? So we're gonna do a little bit different than we do it most weeks, because again, we're honored to have you guys on the show, and we switched up the formula a little bit. So I would like to push it to you two gentlemen to quickly let us know anything that we should be tracking, any initiatives you have coming up, anything that you would like to share when it comes to movies, books, games, or any of that cool stuff, and just let people hear your voices and know a little bit more about you guys before we wrap for this week. So I'll start with Dr. Joseph.
Yes, well, first I just want to thank you, Ryan, Shannon, for doing these type of collabs. So again, just many thanks for having us on the show. So first, of course, you could always reach us at the Cyber Coffee Hour, on YouTube, and also pretty much anywhere you can read, find your podcast. We also have our link tree with everywhere that we're supported, so just look for us there. As far as I'd say for me, like right now, of course, I know folks very aware of what's going on in the current climates. I've been steadily watching the news to see if there's any change. I'd say, but outside of that, just try to keep my mind away from that. I've been heavily invested into the MLB postseason. I mean, my Yankees got knocked out, but I'm recovering. I will have to say I've pivoted very, very quickly to the NFL because the Giants, they showed me something. Jackson Dart, Scatterboo. I'm like, whoa. they
I
showed me something.
did not think they were going to be just that good this year either,
No,
man. Like I thought
I
that
did.
was mistakes.
I did. Look, when I looked on the schedule and they saw they was playing Philly, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's an L.
Yeah.
But no, they took it to them, man. They scored 5 touchdowns on them. So I was like, okay. So I'm looking forward to the Giant season this season. So yeah, just keep up with that, and also just stay studying, stay focused, making sure look for different initiatives, especially now. Of course, October is Cyber Awareness Month. It's always a great time. It's almost like this is our Christmas, so almost, you know what I'm saying? Like you see everyone posting out stuff and do all these different initiatives. So I think it's cool. I think it's at least
New
that one
cyber
time of the year.
tools.
That one time of the year where everyone is really to putting their best work out there, and it's really nice to see. So I just look forward to like future collaborations and things to get into. So
Yeah. So again, Zach, thank you. I love partnering, collaborating with you folks. And to be honest, like I think I look forward to additional collaboration. It's very energetic, very energizing, excuse me, and very informative to share across the podcast universe. As far as I'm going right now, I'm spread a little thin, to be real honest. I am a self-proclaimed nature guy. So right now I'm tracking the environmental effects of AI data centers in our wonderful state of Maryland. It's a big topic that I heard side of desk in my discovery in the natural environment. So I am a training master naturalist. Finally made it. I am tracking initiatives to do, basically there's an initiative, 5 million tree initiative in Maryland. We go out there and we turn into squirrels. Even though we don't like them in cyber, squirrels are pretty essential personnel in nature. They actually help collect and populate and propagate some of the trees that we are cutting down for AI data centers and reforesting and stuff like that. So I'm kind of in the gray with my thought, but I bring all of my cyber brain there side of desk. But besides that, it is Battlefield 6 weekend for me. I'm a huge, I'm one of those guys that they talk about, like didn't pre-order. I wanted the content to be right. I got memes and stuff on Instagram. So this weekend, I'm going to do my setup to play Battlefield 6 and ensure that I get all of the accolades before Christmas.
There you go. That makes sense.
Also, aside of that, I do want to shout out everybody in the industry because it is a very hard time. I'm more proactive in the sense, like thinking like a wastelander, but I never seen it this way in the government layoffs and private side still going on. So I encourage everyone to like look into activity and generate some revenue for yourself while this is going on, because I haven't seen it like this. And it's a little bit of poverty trauma, but I haven't seen it like this since the recession. Right. So I know in our DMV area, no one's really acknowledging that, but I want to talk across the table that you do got to be aware of where your cyber presence could show up and generate income for yourself. So I'm doing that as well. When I go out into the community, people they are recognizing us. Dr. Joseph, like I said on our podcast, they're like, hey, we recognize your voice. Hey, do you have some great episodes 6 months ago? I'm like, well, are you tapped in? Are you subscribing? So I'm trying to work that arrangement out for us and try to organize this a little bit more throughout the third season. And last but not least, I am reading Sustainable City. Baltimore is actually one of two in the state of Maryland that is built as an eco region and subzone. So that's where my host site is. Any chance I get, I go to the city of Baltimore officials, to my Peace Park. Shout out to Still Meadow Peace Park out in Baltimore, and I train up. I train up to learn where we're going in carbon and other crises in the environment. And that's why I'm stretched thin, to be honest.
That's awesome. And it's just so for both your parts, like definitely check out the Cyber Coffee Hour, man. Like it's a ton of great information, as well as they have some amazing guests on there as well when they do their interviews. So I just want to continuously shout them out. I want to have other collaborations with you guys. I want to do a live, but I don't want to host it because I have not done one yet, right? So I'm always learning. So if you guys ever do something live, I'd definitely like to get the team on there as well. But Shannon, what about you? How was your week?
It was the first full week of forced hiatus. You know what I mean? Working for DoD. Made the best of it though. Spent some time with the wife. I imagine probably next week she'll be like, "You don't have anything to do outside the house? Like, what is going?" Like, no, I'm just joking.
Come plant some trees.
Yeah. Look. For me, it would be taking a trip home. I'm from Maryland, right? So like, it'd be taking a trip home. You know what I mean? To just go visit family or whatever. But yeah, no, it was okay for me. Unlike Dr. Joseph, my pro team is having a rough go of it. I'm a Ravens fan, right? So it's not looking good for us.
Oh, my
I'm also
brother.
I'm also a Penn State fan, so like it's doubly bad.
Yeah.
So like I'm calling for people's jobs. I hate to say it like that, right? But like look, the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, he can go. Harbaugh said last week, like, no, we're not gonna get rid of him. We're gonna stick with him. I was like, well, you can go too. Like,
Right.
we're
The
not
town
gonna,
was
we're not
fired
gonna
up too. They were riding around with flock together flags and stuff. Like I've
Yeah.
never seen it like that.
Bro. I said this last year because last year they had to bring in Dean Pease. He was a former DC. He was pretty much babysitting the defense with Zach Orr, right? And then we got it together. Like after week 11, it was like, bang, that's the Ravens defense we know, right? And then the start of this year, like you can't lose games when your offense puts up 40 and 30 points. Like you can't be losing games for that. That's not on the offense, right? But neither here nor there. Hey, so good on your success for the Giants, because like I said, I didn't think Jackson Dart and Scatterboo were going to be those types of guys. I was like, those are
Look,
misses.
the Giants are the most exciting 2-4 team in the league right now.
Because it just happened in the last 3 weeks.
Race
Right.
to the bottom, underdog style.
But no, that's pretty much it. Like I said, spending time with the wife. My daughter had a little field day. I went to and watched her run around a track. You know what I mean? So kids got endless energy. I don't know how they do it. Maybe I was like that as a kid. I don't know. I'm definitely not like that now. But no,
Blame
that's pretty much it.
cybersecurity. No,
Hey, I can't do that. I can't do that. It's putting food on the table. So I ain't gonna do that.
100%.
But that's pretty much it for me. What about you, Ryan? What's your week been like, man?
Pretty quiet. So I'm a Bills fan, right? So we play the Falcons here on Monday. So if you have not peeped the rivalry, if you haven't picked up again, I'm gonna plug the guide, right? So both Dr. Joseph and Alfredo are from the great state of New York as well. They're from Mount Vernon, so that's why they're Giants fans, right? I'm from Buffalo, New York.
No,
So Bills fan. But we're not on schedule, right? So we played you guys in the preseason. You dusted us, right? Preseason was not where neither of our teams were necessarily firing all cylinders. So maybe we'll see you guys later on.
Glorified practice. So.
Yeah, pretty
But
much.
you notice all the adversarial teams are birds, right? Like the
Yeah, this is
Falcons,
very true.
Eagles, Ravens. Right? And being in Ravens territory is rough.
Yeah, no doubt. So I finished finally rolled credits on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So I've been playing this game for 2.5 years. I bought it when it came out. I just now beat it. That was February 2024, right? It came out on the leap day. We're at 98 hours later. So it sounds like a lot of hours, but spread over almost 3 years, I don't feel so bad about myself.
Cloud and Sephiroth are honored.
Right. Thoroughly enjoyed it, loved it, and then immediately after I got done playing it, FOMO hit me and I downloaded Ghost of Yote.
Oh, how's
Exquisite.
that?
It's a masterpiece
Art?
so far.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Don't tell. Oh my God!
I'm
You have to add that to the list now.
yeah, I'm almost 10 hours in, and that's saying a lot for me. Usually it would take 10 weeks to get 10 hours in. I've only been playing it for 2 days.
Wow.
3 days. 3 days. And I already got 10 hours in. I'm sure my family does not appreciate me commandeering the TV.
So
Exquisite.
Ryan, I do want to, as you mentioned about video games. Well, it's an adaptation from the video game Splinter Cell. It's going to be coming out on Netflix.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw
did
that.
see that too. And he's aged. You see how much older he is in
Yeah.
the adaptation?
Yeah. It's
I
not.
think it comes out this week. I think
you are correct. It's not what everybody wanted, but if it reboots the series, like if it adds energy to the series to get them to make another one, then I'm all for it. But when everybody heard the new Splinter Cell was coming, they did not think it was going to be on Netflix.
Right,
Everybody
right.
was.
Same thing
I
with
mean,
Cyberpunk.
yeah.
They did the same thing with Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Rebooted the DLC that didn't come out yet. So
Right. And it brought a lot of energy. Like the game was already getting buzz, right? But it brought a lot of energy. So that's why I'm hoping the same thing happens with my man Sam Fisher.
right.
This new generation will see him on
Right.
Netflix and like, I want that. Like it worked for K-pop Demon Hunters, right? Like kids went crazy for it. Maybe Sam Fisher could be the next. I don't think he'll be that big, but I hope that it does breathe new life into it. Because remember that sound the night vision goggles make?
Yeah.
I want to hear that again, right? I want to play that.
Yeah. So when I saw the trailer, I was even like, you could be out in a different room and you have the volume up. You hear that, you like,
yo,
what's going on?
Like, hold on.
Well, that and the Metal Gear theme, I have to say a rivalry too. It's like we have seen the whole generation, so we know. But it is the younger generation doesn't know what signal that sends off. Like, oh, I got to pick up a controller now. It's serious.
Yeah. We're old heads now, right? They're like, what is Splinter Cell? Like I would tell you, let me spin you a yarn.
Right. Come here, and learn something.
Yeah.
Come here, learn this.
Like
the tactics
the best,
here.
Yeah, the one of the best stealth games ever made.
Right.
But yeah,
whoa.
Well,
there's a rivalry. Metal Gear, though. Oh wait. Now we got another rivalry.
Like so.
I was with you until you said that.
MGS on the PS1 is in my top 10 of all time, right? But
nice.
I don't know. It's something about Splinter Cell. They did tactical stealth differently, right? That I really like. Same thing goes with like Tenchu, right? Tenchu, the was it like Stealth Assassins or Master Ninja? I forget what the subtitle was, but that was a classic from back in the day too. I'm like, when are they gonna come out with another Tenchu? But
now we got to spend. There's another one the kids don't know. Now we got to spin up a LAN party with all three. Like
right,
4 controllers right here.
Yeah, like kids just don't understand. Like you guys have it. You have the best and worst of it, right? Happening right now. Yeah. So I got to land this plane. It's been a pleasure to have you gentlemen on the show. So real quick, make sure you hit up all the websites that go by our name, The Other Side of the Firewall, Ask a CISSP, and definitely check out this Cyber Coffee Hour if you have not already. I've been plugging it because I want you to get on your phone. Not if you're driving, but if you're stuck in traffic right now, get on your phone. And definitely search them up and add it to whatever platform you're using. You need to subscribe to their podcast because it is amazing. Definitely continue to check us out. Again, these gentlemen are in the guide, so hit up www.theothersideofthefirewall.com to pick up that said guide. It's on sale all October long, so you can get 40% off, which is about $15 even. Just continue to check us out on WDJY 99.1 FM in the Atlanta metro area. That's Tuesdays at 5. It's simulcast on the TuneIn app. You can find us weekly on Channel 10 Public Access in the DC Fairfax area. And then, of course, you can check us out almost in real time. I try to drop the episode every Monday or Tuesday of the week on your podcast platform of choice. That is theothersideofthefirewall.com. You can hit me up at RY Security Guy. That's RY Security Guy. You can find me pretty much everywhere. Or you can go to my personal branded website, RyanWilliamsSenior.com. That's www.RyanWilliamsSenior.com to check out all of my projects, to include services on RAM Cyber. And you, gentlemen, where can they find you, Alfredo?
All right, so the first stop is going to be our various LinkedIn profiles. If you go and say hello to the coffee makers, you'll see our link tree and all of our socials for YouTube. And now we have a surprise drop for a Hall of Founders. Anyone that's been on the show that's offering services will be featured on our link tree. And then same on Spotify, Apple, and soon to come Amazon podcast as well. Amazon Music, excuse me.
Awesome. And you, Dr. Joseph, anything to add?
Yeah, no, you can find me on LinkedIn. Of course, find the Cyber Coffee Hour on LinkedIn as well. We do have some major releases coming through as we're syndicated through the Live Podcast Network. So just stay tuned for that. We do have some big things in store. But yeah, in the interim now, just to piggyback what Alfredo mentioned, Yeah, you can find us individually on LinkedIn.
There it is. And you, of course, cannot find Shannon anywhere because he is incognito in real life. But
Shadow
definitely,
art.
definitely continue to check us all out at our various platforms. Stay safe, stay secure.